Hi, I'm Jim Brett, President and CEO of the New England Council. Thanks for tuning in to this month's episode of Inside the Corner Office, where we catch up with the leaders of some of our region's most well-respected businesses and organizations to learn more about their career paths and about the institutions they lead. This month, I had the pleasure of talking with Gordon Reid, the president of one of New England's most well-known brands, Stop and Shop. Gordon and I talked about his career. It's taken him quite literally around the globe, as well as some changes that the popular supermarket chain has recently announced. And as September marks Hunger Action Month, we also discuss Stop and Shop's steadfast commitment to combating food insecurity and hunger in the communities it serves. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. Gordon, it's great to see you, and thanks for taking the time to join me today.
It's a pleasure, Jim.
Yeah. We always like to start these conversations learning a little more about our guests and their career path. And you have a very interesting background, to say the least. You're from Scotland, and you've spent a significant amount of your career there, but you've also worked in Hungary and Hong Kong and India and China. Tell us a little more about your career path and how it's taken you around the world.
Sure. Gosh, about over a lifetime ago, 40 years ago, I qualified as a pharmacist in the UK.
Right.
And I worked with Boots the chemist there for 15 years. So one of the biggest health and beauty chains in the United Kingdom. Worked all over the UK, from a pharmacist to a general manager, sort of leading 450 stores at the time I left there. And I was approached in 1999 by the A.S. Watson Group, and it was just at the start of international retailing really taking off in the UK. And they were a Hong Kong-based organization, part of Li Ka-shing's empire. So they had some health and beauty stores, and they wanted to be the Boots of Asia. So they wanted to recruit me to help with that. So I spent 7 years with them, 3 years in Hong Kong and 4 in Taiwan, a bit of time up in South Korea, doing a joint venture with the LG Group. I was then approached by Tesco to join them in Central Europe. And that was my move into grocery retailing. So I was the ops director of the Hungarian business. Spent 3 years there, sort of getting the business back on its feet. And then I was asked to go to India to do a joint venture with the Tata family, help them with their supermarket business. So did that for 3 years. Then went to Taiwan and ran the Tesco business on the east coast of China, based out of Shanghai for 2 years. Joined the Dairy Farm Group back in China as the CEO of China for them, looking after supermarkets in Taiwan, health and beauty in China, and 700 7-Eleven stores in Guangdong province. And then I was approached by Ahold to come to the US and join them here. So I ran the giant food business for 6 years, and I've been in Boston now with Stop and Shop for 5. So that's a whistle-stop tour of my career. So it's been fun. I've been an adventure, but yeah, great experience.
So how has that extensive international experience shaped your approach and how you work day in and day out?
Yeah, I think it's all really about understanding the customer and working in some of those cultures. Really sort of when I first started going to the different countries, I would drop into the subway, I'd go around in a car, I'd visit different locations and areas, and especially in the food industry, understanding different food. You can imagine North India to South India, different parts of China, the different tastes that people have, walking the markets and understanding how people sell. And that translates, I think, into any country. It's really understanding the customer and how they behave. And then how do you sort of meet those needs,
Stop and Shop has been in the news in recent
Tell
weeks.
me about it.
And following the announcement that you'll be closing, some stores here in New England, New York, New Jersey, I think some 32 stores. Yep. Can you give us a little more insight on why and how this decision was made?
Sure. When in running our business, we have closed stores in the past, and every time we have a renewal of a rent contract or a lease contract, we will review the performance of the stores, and we've done that at this point, a key part of our business as we move forward. We've been around for 110 years, and different markets change at different times. And this decision, I really get is a tough one, but it really is accelerating some of the closure of those underperforming stores. And the reason behind that is really to focus our assets and our sort of team on driving the profitable part of the business and giving the customer, using those resources to give the customer what they need in the rest of our business. So it's, say, really tough decisions, but I think it's the right thing for our business.
I mean, obviously, it sounds like a strategic move. How can you maybe expand and elaborate how those investments are expected to benefit your customers?
Yeah. But what was also announced at the time that we sort of spoke about those closures, and it was done at a sort of market day with Ahold Delhaize USA and our CEO making the comments. Really, we mentioned closures, but we also said we're going to invest in price, in price in the business over the next 4 years. And we're going to keep remodeling our stores. We've already remodeled 190 of our stores to give the customer a much better experience. We'll continue that, and we'll continue to sort of offer a great value to our customers and looking after our people. So yeah, I think the closure part really caught a lot of attention, but nobody really mentioned the other two elements, which I think are real positives for our customers and our teams.
Regarding the employees and the communities affected by these closures, what measures are being taken to support them?
Well, what we said as we made the announcement that we would look after all the employees and would be offering roles for other employees in different stores. So that's what we're doing. We're in the process of making these announcements, and we're talking to our associates as to which stores they can go to sister stores and keeping those in a job. In some communities where we've closed the store, we've also found someone to replace us. So we'll make some announcements on that soon. So 5 stores already, we've found a replacement retailer to go in there who's keen to serve that community. And so we're doing all we can to sort of do the right things by our associates, do the right things by the communities. And that's something that Stop & Shop's always been proud of, and we'll continue to do that.
Yeah. Stop & Shop is, of course, a household name here in New England. And I'm sure many of those tuning in regular shoppers. I hope they are. But I think what people may not be aware of is some of the company's incredible work that you do to support our communities. So let's just take a moment to talk about some of those initiatives. One in particular, I know that you're very proud of, is the school food pantry program. Can you tell us a little more about the program and how it's impacting the communities that you serve?
Sure. I mean, as a food retailer, we feel we've got a responsibility in hunger, and we've always had that responsibility. We've supported food banks, throughout our whole history. And in the last few years, we've developed this food pantry program, or food pantry program, where we are opening in sort of areas of need in the schools. We're opening in a food pantry where the children, kids, and it goes from some K2 almost into colleges as well, where the students can come and take food in the morning. They can come and take food home in the evening to help feed them and their families. And the big focus for me is, look, I think that, and my family were this way, it was education is the thing that takes you out of the cycle of poverty and difficulty that you have, I believe. And 20% of kids go to bed hungry every single night, and when you come to school, if you're hungry, there's no way you can concentrate and get the grades that you need and contribute to your own development. And so the food pantry program came out of really that belief. And so we now have 240 food pantries that we support, serve something like 40,000 families each month. And really, it's something we're incredibly proud of, and we'll continue to grow. The target's to get to 400, one for each store that we have. And there's a really great process in place that the school applies, we then go along and work with them. What's really exciting is the kids actually get involved in setting up the food pantry, and they get involved in serving their colleagues. So again, it just gives that sense of community to the school, and I think something that really is working well.
What are some of the other ways Stop & Shop is supporting our local communities?
Yeah, I mean, we do so many things. Food banks have always been a big focus for us. So we support all 11 food banks across our footprint. We're the biggest donator of cash and in kind. We're the first retailer to offer SNAP online for our customers. We work with the Dimmock Centre in Boston, which is a fantastic centre that really helps rehabilitation. We put a food pantry in there. We in Grove Hall remodeled their store. We put a nutritionist in Roxbury, a nutritionist into the store there and working with the community. We work with cancer research and pediatric cancer in particular. We're putting a food pantry into the Dana-Farber Cancer Hospital. And really just a whole lot of different ways. We support the LGBTQ community through our ARGs and the veterans community. And the stores individually can do things in their own store with their individual community, depending on the needs. And associates can apply for a stipend to help sort of fund that. So that's something, again, that we've done in recent years.
As you mentioned, September is Hunger Action Month, and we know that access to healthy food in the community is great importance right now. But how is, again, Stop and Shop focusing on promoting healthy eating?
Yeah, we start with, we have a target for healthy sales of our own brand product. So we have a system installed on our own brand products called Guiding Stars. And a product gets 1 star, 2 star, or 3 stars, or no stars, depending on how healthy it is. So customers can easily go and sort of choose the Guiding Stars product, and then they're sort of sure to be getting a healthier product. We are actually expanding that to include all of the branded products as well. So at the moment, 60% of our own brand products are healthy products that are being sold, and we intend to sort of expand that to branded. And that's something that we're promoting. We're letting customers know that information, so when they go to stores, they can choose healthy. We also have nutrition partners, so we have a team of nutritionists that do online sort of workshops and education. They go out into the community and they also help us drive healthy assortments in our categories and healthy promotions as we work our way through our promotional calendar.
In just a few weeks, the New England Council will be honoring the Homebase program and its Executive Director, General Jack Hammond, with the New Englander of the Year award. I understand that Stop and Shop also has a partnership with Homebase and to support our region's veterans and their families. Tell us a little more about that program.
Well, Homebase is an incredible organization, and General Hammond is a great individual. I've met him a couple of times, and the work he does. Our associate retail group we have one that focuses on veterans, and they work closely with Homebase to support them in the work that they're doing. So we basically recently we've worked with them on the Fenway run that they do recently with our associates working there. And we have an annual veterans dinner that we bring veterans into our head office and have them sort of serve them a meal, and they leave with a turkey and all this sort of trimmings for Thanksgiving.
In recent years, we've seen companies of all types focusing more on concerns about climate change. Can you talk about how Stop and Shop is contributing to environmental conservation?
Sure. Well, one of the biggest challenges in food retailing is food waste, and there's way too much food gets diverted to landfill. So we have, the last number of years, had a program to divert waste. And last year, we diverted 78% of our waste away from landfills. And that's really through donations, working with groups. And one of those that you have yourself that you support, Jim, and helping sort of give food to really worthy causes and institutions. So 78% of our food waste is diverted away from landfill. The target's to get to 90%, which would then make us a zero waste organization. We make food donations every year. So last year was £21.1 million of food donated. We have an anaerobic digester at our DC facility, that any sort of other food that can't be donated gets turned into energy, which is a novel idea. It really helps power the DC. And a lot of local sourcing through local suppliers helps cut down transport costs. We've also eliminated plastic bags from our business, which had some controversy, but we then started to really encourage people to use reusable bags because I think it's 900 kilotons of plastic that we've saved by doing that. So yeah, we've got clear CO2 emission targets as well by 2030 and 2050 across the whole of Ahold Delhaize. So it really is an important issue for us.
Given the New England Council's mission of advocating for federal policy, we always like to wrap up these conversations, just taking a few minutes to talk about policy priorities. Like so many issues today, the Farm Bill has become extremely partisan, and we've
Absolutely.
seen delays in advancing the 2024 Farm Bill. This certainly must be extremely frustrating for organizations like Stop and Shop.
Yeah.
But what are your priorities for inclusion in this bill when it hopefully eventually does move forward?
I mean, the bipartisan passage of the Farm Bill is integral to keeping America's food system strong and safe, And through our relationships with the Food Industry Alliance, FMI, and our state grocery trades, we strongly encourage a farm bill that strengthens the entire food chain, from farmers to manufacturers and to retailers like Stop and Shop. And our customers, it's really important for them who rely on us for nourishment and feeding assistance program like SNAP and the school summer meals. And it's been really encouraging that a number of our states that we operate in have moved ahead with the summer meals program, which is making a difference to a lot of people. But the Farm Bill really needs to move forward.
We totally agree. And it's a bill that's high on our priority, and hoping that the parties will come together and pass this because it's so important. Organized retail crime, big issue, and the theft has become major topics throughout our nation. As a retailer that operates in some of the most populated cities in the country, what has Stop and Shop been able to do to collaborate with leaders in the city and the state and the federal level to combat retail crime?
Yeah. I mean, retail crime really has become, and it's an important topic, and it's become an organized crime. And so you have the petty theft that it really has become an organized crime with crime rings, sort of taking advantage of this. And really with limited sort of a punishment for those sort of crimes, if you like. People can steal up to a certain amount and have no charge whatsoever. In Boston, we work with Mayor Wu, who's been a great help in some of our stores to really sort of help work across the police and other agencies to help us sort of control some of the problems that we've had in the cities in particular. So it's great when I think we can call on the mayor to ask for support and ask for help, and she was incredibly generous in doing that. But it really is a massive problem. It has a big impact on society. If we get to a point where we spoke about store closures, grocery retailing, despite what everyone says at the moment, is a razor thin margins.
Right.
And theft, like the theft that we're experiencing now, really can be the difference between a store staying open or a store closing. So it really is something that we've got to pay attention to, and we can do with all the support that can be given. And I know I've spoken to you about it, Jim, and you were tremendously supportive. So I appreciate that.
So what is the margin of profit? Is it 1-2 percentage points? And people always now more than ever are questioning the profits of some of the larger grocery chains, and not just the 1 or 2%, but what dollar amount are we talking about on retail crime?
Retail, gosh, I mean, we don't really disclose numbers in terms of bottom line profit, but if I look at sort of, we have some stores in certain areas where our shrink is 5%. So for every $100 we sell, we lose $5, and that's some of the extreme areas. It's like, but it's not just limited to, a few areas. It really has become a bigger issue as people struggle in the economy across all of the stores, But, your margins in grocery are thin, and, with the inflation that we've had in recent years, there's just extra challenges there. It's transport, it's fuel. I mean, every week we sort of measure the commodities, and understand that. We have an economics group who, when we get a price increase from a supplier, we have what we call a should cost system. So they'll look into the price increase, they'll evaluate what's been the price of the commodity, transport, fuel, all of those things, and then do we accept the price increase or not, and in recent times, with the way things have gone, it's been difficult to stop those increases coming through. So, we need to get back to lower inflation, fighting inflation, and then working together to manage the cost of groceries to people. It's not something that's an easy, you can just switch it off. Otherwise, you will have, closures, you will have damage to businesses, and that's not something that you want to happen. So, I mean, I remember in COVID, when COVID broke, and there was talk at that time of saying we'll close the supermarkets. There was, when people weren't really clear how to deal with it. But if you switch off, food availability, then it becomes a difficult and a challenging time. And I've worked in some countries where food can be scarce and food can be difficult, and that's something you don't want to see in the US, with any sort of activity that limits pricing.
Is supply chain a problem any longer?
There's still some suppliers that are sort of struggling, but it really is back to a much stronger position. The last couple of years have been tough, but it's getting back to, we normally operate at 95% availability. We're at 90% at the moment. And that's something that we just keep edging up and edging up. But again, some suppliers, have struggled. The pet industry in particular seems to have struggled. A lot of it can be the packaging as well as the product material. So it really is a whole mixture of things that are still impacting industry, but it's much better.
Well, Gordon, I just want to thank you for taking the time to join me today. I really enjoyed learning a little more about Stop and Shop's involvement in our community. I know firsthand of your involvement in our food pantry in Dorchester, and you've been there on so many occasions, and you've helped so many families, and you've done it in a very quiet way, I might add, and you should be congratulated and recognized for your involvement in the community. I know you've done that throughout New England, so you're not just there in the community making a profit, you're there to be part of the community and make the community more vibrant, and I just thank you for that. And
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, and I hope our audience also realizes that you are part of the community, and you are to be commended. And I read earlier all your involvement and so many charitable initiatives that you've taken a leadership. You mentioned a couple today on the veterans and the food pantry, but so many others, the environmental, and I mean, you've taken a leadership role, and you are to be commended for that. So, needless to say, we all agree that Stop and Shop is an incredible New England company, and we really appreciate all your contributions to our region. So, for those of you who are tuning in today, I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Be sure to tune in next month when our guest will be Lisa Whalen, who's now the New England president of National Grid.